And now, for the week of May 15th, Adobe Photoshop TV is on the air.
Welcome to Adobe Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And here's your hosts, the Photoshop guys, Scott Kelby, Dave Cross, and Matt Kloskowski.
All right, everybody, welcome to another tepid episode of Adobe Photoshop TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people who bring you Photoshop User Magazine.
This week's episode is brought to you by DLO, CDW, Digital Juice, iStockPhoto.com, and also Yellow Machine.
Yellow Machine from Anthology Solutions. Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Scott Kelby, and joining me here on the set from Canada, Mr. Dave Cross.
Actually from Tampa, but originally Florida. I mean Canada. I know where I'm from. Canada. Yeah, that's right.
Come on, he's from Canada, you know it. We're broadcasting from Ottawa. All right, and to my left here, or to this side of me, my other left.
You guys are confused today.
We have to stop drinking right before the show. This happens every time. Is Mr. Matt Kloskowski.
Welcome back, everybody.
Well, hey, everybody. We're glad to be here for another week. And, hey, we've got something exciting today. You know, we mentioned these sponsors at the beginning of the show. We've been mentioning Yellow Machine here for a few weeks. And the question is what is the Yellow Machine? Well, guess what? In honor of the Yellow Machine, not only did I wear my yellow shirt, we have a Yellow Machine right here. The Yellow Machine it's this yellow thing.
That's a machine.
No, this is very cool. It is actually a terabyte worth of storage for all of your photos or your graphics or whatever you want. Now, there's a one terabyte version. And by the way, a terabyte is a whole bunch of storage. There's this version. There's also the 2 terabyte version.
Holy crap.
And it is the size of a small car. But no, it's the same size. It's this. Here it is. So it's a terabyte of stuff. It's the Yellow Machine. Store everything there, all of your photography.
And if they get a Peach Pit shirt, they can match the
you,
Yellow Machine just like you do.
If you get Peach Pit to give you one of the shirts. Hey, you like the way I did the shirt? Just this way. There we go.
There you go.
For those of you who watched last week, you know what that's a reference to. Peach Pit.
Oh, gosh.
We should probably, a lot of TV shows would stop, wouldn't they? A lot of shows would stop right now and say, let's recut this. But not us.
Not us, no.
No, because we are us. Okay, so, hey, we've got a lot of cool stuff. I do want to say, despite how badly we've gotten off this start, in the month of April, we want to thank you guys. We had 1.8 million downloads for the month of April.
And May has just gone down to 1.8.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just down 1.8 viewers. But hey, that's 300,000 more than the month before. So thank you guys so much for helping us spread the word and support Photoshop TV. Tell your friends about us. Tell people you don't even know. That being said, Matt, I believe you brought a tip for us.
I did bring a tip. So what we're going to look at this week is how to take your photos, any photos where you got the yellowish kind of teeth, and how to take it and turn it to white. So it's really easy to do, and I'm going to show you a very cool selection trick along the way. All right, so the first thing you do is go find a photo with yellow teeth. And as you can see here, I've got one. This guy's the photo looks generally okay, but you can see we just need to whiten the teeth up a little bit. So I'm going to zoom way into it. Now, removing the yellow process is actually really easy. What you need to do first is select the teeth. And the way you do that in this tutorial here, use the quick mask mode. So we get a lot of questions from people on how to make good selections. And one of the best ways to do it is to use quick mask, because it's like making a selection with a brush, which is actually pretty cool, because you can be very, very accurate when you're using a brush tool. So go right here to the Layers palette, just click Edit in Quick Mask Mode. And I'm going to use the left and right bracket keys here to make my brushes smaller and larger. And all you need to do is start to paint on the teeth here, and you can kind of see that red color start to appear. Now, I'm not really painting red on the teeth. What this red color is it's essentially telling Photoshop what is selected. So I'm just going to go through, paint the teeth here with red. And you can be as accurate or not accurate. I'm going to start going through it a little faster so we don't sit here for 5 minutes while I'm selecting teeth. And here's what's cool about it, though. So you can change your brush size. You can do whatever you need to. And let's say you have an area like over here that I just accidentally...
That's what happens if you don't brush.
Yes. Always use Crest. So... Gosh.
Different response.
All right, so as you can see here, I went a little bit over toward the lip. Well, what you can do is change your foreground color from black to white, And now you can start erasing away that area here. So change it from black to white. Gingivitis. All right, so you change it from black to white. Now I got the teeth. They're all red. All you need to do to make this a selection now is go back into regular standard edit mode. So just click that button, and you can see it puts a selection around the teeth. So we've got our teeth selected. Now I'm going to add an adjustment layer to it. So go to your layers palette here, go add your hue saturation adjustment, and let's go ahead and just zoom in so we can see the teeth again. Whoops. Let's go back here, open up the hue
By the way,
saturation.
I love to hear that in the middle of the tutorial.
Whoops is always a good sound. So let's zoom back into the teeth, open up our adjustment layer, because that's why we used an adjustment layer, because it doesn't matter if I said oops. So I open up my adjustment layer.
Awesome.
So here's where everybody goes wrong with whitening teeth, is they think it has to do with adding white to it. But really what you want to do is remove the yellow. So I'm going to go under Edit, go down to Yellows, and just take the saturation, move it all the way to the left, and yellow is gone. Click OK, and now you've got nice white teeth. You can look at it, you can say, you know what, maybe I want them a little later, or a little bit lighter. Just open that up again, go back in here to yellows, and if you want to, the last step would maybe be adjust the lightness a little bit. You can whiten them up just a little bit more. You don't want to go too far because they glow, but if you lighten them up just a little bit more, press OK, and now you've got nice white teeth and not that little yellow film that gets all over them. So
Beauty, eh?
beauty. That's it. Now, what was cool about that is if you notice, I did it on the adjustment layer, which is when I said oops. If you want to, and you've got the photo open, you decide later on, you save that PSD file, the adjustment layer gets saved with it. You can always open it up, look at it again, and what's really dramatic here is take a look at the before image. I can always shut that adjustment layer off. That shows you before, and then that shows you after. So you get a lot of control when you whiten your teeth that way.
Sweet. Thank you, Mr. Kloskowski. Hey, speaking of Mr. Kloskowski, you know, he wasn't here last week, but one cool thing happened was we have one of our viewers in the UK, Gareth Davies, I have his name written right here. Gareth Davies, really great guy, designed a Matt Kloskowski Rockin' the Houski t-shirt, and he sent it to us. We're going to put it up here on screen for you right now. Take a look. So,
never in my wildest dreams.
right. And now what Matt's name's a little small, I think, on this. It's really the Houski. Rockin' the Houski's huge. But you know what I like about it? The way he used the little letter O as a speaker, and he's got that. And Matt's a little small. So we're asking Gareth to make his name much, much bigger. And we'll be selling these. You can actually buy these today at. Just kidding. No, you
All
can't.
people are ready to write it down. And
Right.
go,
Okay. If you want to buy these, send us an email, and if we get enough emails, we'll go out and go to Cafe Press or somebody
And print
get
5.
print 5 or 6 of them easily. Or we can make a collector's item, give them away as gifts. Speaking of giveaways, you know what we've been giving away for the last few weeks? This very, very cool device. We've been talking about it quite a bit. The New Look Navigator from Logitech. It's like the coolest add-on device they've had for Photoshop in a long, long time. I don't mean by they as in Logitech. I mean they as in anyone. Anyway, it's very, very cool, and Matt's going to be showing you how to use it. We keep saying, we're going to show you how to use it next week. Well, that week has finally come. But not before Mr. Dave Cross, our Canadian friend from across the border, gives us a tip. What do you got, Dave?
Well, I got to say before I do my tip that not only will Matt be showing the new look, but it'll be the return for you longtime viewers, the return of Dave Cam. Remember, long
Dave
time
Cam.
ago, we had Dave Cam, so we'll be doing a little Dave Cam action so you can see.
I bet you there's people that
over
don't
the
know
show.
what
They
Dave
probably
Cam
don't,
is.
so they will experience it for the first
it's
time.
great.
So you can look forward to that. Well, my tip today is to showing you how to take advantage of kind of a hidden feature of free transform when you're trying to make some kind of shape and do it automatically. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a document. The yellow background is simply so that whatever I do next will be easier for you to see. So I'm just going to make a new layer, and on that new layer, make a nice circular selection. So I'm holding down the Shift key, needless to say, to make a nice circular selection, which I will fill with black. Now, I want to find the exact center of this, and we've shown you this before, but I'm going to press Command or Control R for Show Rulers. And then as long as I have the Move tool selected, up here in the options bar, there's a little thing that says Show Transform Controls, and see how now I have those little handles and everything on my image. So now I can just simply pull guides down, and they snap right into the center of the image, just like that. Okay? Now, we're going to make another new layer, and on that, make a little oval selection, which I will fill with white. And I'm going to basically, my end goal here is to end up with something that looks kind of like a gear shape. So I'm going to have to do a couple of things. First of all, let me go back to my Move tool. I want to make sure that that shape is also lined up with those guides, so I'm just using my arrow keys to nudge it. I need to make this a selection. If I didn't make a selection, all of these objects I'd be making would be on separate layers, and that would be kind of difficult. So I'm going to hold down the Command or Control key and click on the layer to load it as a selection. Now, of course, normally when you use Free Transform, you go right here, choose Free Transform, or press the keyboard shortcut, Command or Control T. What we're going to do is throw in the Option key on the Mac, Alt for Windows, making it Command Option T on the Mac, Control Alt T for Windows. Now look in the center of the Free Transform, there's that little center guide. That determines what point the transform uses to make the transformation. I'm going to move that right down to the center of the circle, like this. And I'll zoom back out again so I don't have my screen moving around. So that means it's going to use that center point as my rotation point. Now I want to rotate it and make a copy. So hold down Option or Alt, and as I start to drag, I'm also going to hold down the Shift key because that'll do it in nice constrained angles. So that basically, when I hit Enter, makes a second oval. Now, you hold down the entire left side of your keyboard, which actually would be Command Option Shift T or Control Alt Shift T, and that will repeat the same transformation I just did. So as I do this, you'll see I'm getting these weird oval shapes going all the way around the outside, which looks a little odd because now I have a whole bunch of white ovals sitting on top of a big black circle. So far it doesn't look much like a gear shape, but it will, hopefully, any moment now by doing this. Take this layer that's been created. Notice how all those ovals are on one layer, not separate layers. Hold down the Command or Control key, click right on that layer thumbnail to load it as a selection. Now I can hide that layer, come back to my black layer, and if I simply hit Delete on the Mac or Backspace on Windows, look at that. I have a little gear shape. And again, the secret to that was having Photoshop do the work for me. Now, there were two real keys to that. The first one was to make sure you load a selection from the shape you want to repeat. Otherwise, you'll end up with like 27 separate layers. And also, the keyboard shortcut of throwing that Option or Alt key into Free Transform does the work for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Cross. All right, guys, it's time to take a quick break. Stick around. We got a lot more stuff, and we've got a kind of report from Matt and my trip out west last week. After Matt was done at NAB, he caught up with me out in Arizona and Utah, and we did some shooting. We have a lot more coming up. Stick around on Adobe Photoshop TV. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. Hey, just want to tell you, Matt was gone last couple of weeks. Of course, Matt was teaching out at NAB. We kept talking about that. But when Matt was done with the NAB, he met me out in Arizona. We were doing a shoot out there, a photo shoot out there in Arizona and Utah.
A very, very frightening flight, but yes, I made it.
He had a terrifying flight. We were there with Bill Fortney from Nikon Professional Services, so it's just Bill, Matt, and I. We just had an incredible time. We had an incredible time watching your plane land in Page, Arizona. But
all I gotta say is I've never been that scared in my entire life.
He got off the plane, he was totally shaken up. But anyway, we made it through there, and we were there to shoot the Antelope Canyon slots. If you've never seen these slots, they're actually crevices down on the earth. One of the slots goes 60 feet below the earth. One of them is 120 feet below. And you have to get all your camera gear and go down there. Well, I posted some shots on my personal blog. I have a private blog that I do for NAP members. And as soon as I posted the shots, boom, 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 I'm getting questions. Yeah. What kind of equipment did you use? What kind of camera? What did you do in Photoshop? And we're here to answer all of that in this segment right here. Hey, I printed out a shot that Matt's got here. This came out of my Epson T400. And this is to give you an idea of the kind of shots that we were shooting down in the slots. And it was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it?
At any point you had like 15 tripods sitting up right next to you, and it doesn't look like that. The shots look so nice and
yeah, like there was no one there,
like
but
you're the only one there. But in actuality, there's about 15 tripods at all times.
Yeah, you know what was cool though? Everywhere we went, we ran into NAPP members. Yeah. We ran into NAP members. All of a sudden they go, "Hey, you're Matt. Hey, you're Scott." We just had the best time meeting people and shooting. And sometimes you would just literally have to wait till no one was around.
Yeah.
But I posted these shots, of course, on my blog. But I'm also going to make some for our Photoshop TV viewers. follow the link that's on the PhotoshopTV.com website. I set up a little Flickr site where you can go and I put about 20 shots that I took in the slots. We're gonna post-process these in just a minute. Or at least one of them. But I want to talk a little bit about the gear that we use because I had so many questions and emails about that. We were shooting basically Nikon D2X, which is what I have here, my Nikon D2X, and a Nikon D200. And what an incredible camera that every time I'd set up, people come over and go, is that the D200? I have to go, no, it's the D2X. It's like the better, more expensive camera, but the D200 is so hot. Everybody I talked to said, I've got one of those on order. Anyway, we're shooting the... when you're shooting in the slots, it's very, very dark down there. In fact, that exposure that Matt just showed you was an 8-second exposure to get the kind of light. So sometimes you're walking around and holding, but you're trying to use as much natural light as possible. The key to getting these shots and to getting them really tack sharp is a couple of different things. Number one, you've got to shoot on a tripod. We saw people hand holding these 8-second exposures.
Oh no, it was bad.
We were just like, look
flashes
at that.
Flashes going off.
Yeah, flashes everywhere. And so we started to beat them. No, so that's it. I have a ball head that I absolutely love. It's the Really Right Stuff ball head, which is just an awesome ball head. I actually fell in love with it a little while ago, and now I can't live without it. It's got a quick release, a little L clamp to be able to change sides, but it's just an amazing ball head. Now, one of the things that we do, of course, besides is, everything is to reduce the amount of, you're in low light, you're shooting for long periods of time. Everything that we do is to try to reduce the amount of camera shake. So another thing is to use a remote. We used a remote cable release here. The other thing is to use mirror lockup mode. If you haven't used mirror lockup mode, what it does is it basically locks the mirror up, so you fire once, and then you fire again, and it gives you the least camera shake possible, and that's so critical when you're trying to get these shots and make them crisp so you can make them big. This is a 13 by 19 shot. We could do 24 by 36, 20 by 30, no problem. Of course, this is a 12 megapixel. The D200 will do the same exact thing. And some of the shots that Bill got, and Matt's got a bunch of shots that every day Matt would tease me with his shots. We keep sending them back and forth. Another thing is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you don't have a cable release, one thing that you can do is set your camera onto auto timer. And that way, if you press the auto timer, that way you're not actually pressing the button to take the shot. So if it counts down to 5 or 10 seconds. So if you find yourself without the cable release, or you just don't have one.
Yeah, use the self-timer. Great tip. And plus, you can also set the self-timer instead of the 10-second default. I set mine to 2 seconds, so if you don't have the cable release. Also, here's the thing for people that are using VR lenses. The lenses I use, we shot 2 basic lenses down there. This is the 70-200 VR from Nikon, and this other one is the 24-120. Here's the thing. They are VR. They're vibration reduction lenses, but you don't want to have the vibration reduction on when you're on a tripod. So make sure you go and click right on them and turn them off when they are on the tripod, because what it'll do is start looking for a vibration where there is none.
Yeah.
All right, so that's basically, this is the basic rig that we were mostly shooting with. Nikon D2X, the Nikon D200 did a phenomenal job. We did have to put little hair nets over little shower caps that we took from the hotel room. We put them on here to keep the dust around. And one of the interesting things is, and when you go to the site, you're going to see some of my shots and some of Matt's shots, they have these big beams of light through them. The way you get the beams to show up is you get your buddy to take a bunch of sand, throw it up, wait a few seconds till the dust rises, and start snapping. But there was plenty of dust in there.
The downside of that is there's dust flying through the air all the time.
Absolutely.
So you don't know, like somebody's around the corner and they're trying to get a beam shot, and so they throw up a bunch of sand, and you're like, oh man, and so they get you, so they don't see all the time.
It's best to wait till there's not too many people around. Yeah. All right, so now I opened one of the shots that I took in the slot, and this isn't any of the ones that I've posted on my blog, but I'm going to give you an idea of what you can do in Photoshop, because a lot of people ask me, oh, these shots have been doctored and you did a bunch of stuff, and they weren't accusatory, they were saying, what did you do in Photoshop because they look really cool? Well, I wish I could take a lot of credit. I'm going to do so little in Photoshop, it's embarrassing, because they're so colorful down there. I mean, you see yellows and purples and reds and all these brilliant colors that you could add it, you could go tweak the stuff in Photoshop, but it looks instantly fake. So you're going to be surprised at how little we're allowed to do. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to show you, here's one of the shots that I took right here. All right, and this is like shooting down a canyon wall, probably up a little bit. And it looks okay, but it obviously needs a color correction. The weird thing is you can't use the standard old regular correction where you just open curves and start like clicking, because well, number one, it's hard to find a black point because there's nothing that's really that dark. So you click over here and you lose all the color. Then you try to find a white point. Well, there's not really a great white point, but we'll click up here and you can see now it's nothing like what it really looked like. And then when you finally go set your midpoint, you've basically trashed the photo. It just looks like nothing.
No, that's nice.
No,
I like that.
So basically, rather than doing a color correction, you need to do kind of a color enhancement, but you have to be careful how much enhancement you do. I can show you a couple different ones that I did. One that I did that is from my channels book, and by the way, since we're mentioning my channels book, we'll be giving away a copy a little later for our trivia question. One of the things I did is a technique that uses lab color. You can go to LAB color, and by the way, moving to LAB color does not damage your photo. It's a non-threatening move. No, a non-threatening move. It doesn't threaten your photo in any way. A non-damaging move. There's a better term for that, isn't there?
That was good, though.
Thank you. Okay, so, and then you're going to go basically, and you can see the photo looks the same, but you're now split into a lightness A and B channel. What you're going to do is just stay on the lab channel and go to curves. Then you're going to hold the Option key on Mac, the Alt key on PC, and click on this little grid. Now, Matt, I believe you showed the same technique.
Way back.
Way back, episode,
Back in
who knows what.
The
4.
early days of Photoshop TV.
So early days. But it's a great technique for really making colors pop. Then you're going to ignore the lightness channel. You're going to go to the A channel, and you're going to move this 2 grid squares to the top, and things look really bad. Then 2 grid squares to the bottom. All right? And it's looking a little better. Then you're going to go to B and do the same thing. And this is based on a simplified version of a technique that Dan Margulis pioneered in his wonderful lab book. Dan showed me this technique, and ever since he showed it to me about a year before the book came out, I've been using it ever since. And you click OK. All right, now the photo looks too intense. It looks overdone, and it looks okay. It didn't look like that. So then I would just go to fade. Go to fade, and fade I think of as undo on a slider. So back it off just a little bit till it still looks rich, maybe like in this case about 57%. And it looks much, much better. Take a look at the difference between where we started. Let me see if I can figure out where we started. Maybe, I've been working on this for the revert, from there to there. So you can see it really did bring out the richness that was kind of lost. Where are we? Here, revert, there we go. From there to there, brought out some of the richness. Now, I'm going to give you another version. Let's revert this. Okay, let's go back and revert and start again. Another one is going to be even easier, and this is what I recommend. Go to levels. The reason you're going to go to levels is it doesn't really need a color correction. What it needs is to kind of saturate the image a bit. So I'm going to increase the shadows. I'm going to increase the highlights by dragging to the left. So see how it kind of saturated the whole image a little bit? Now, but when it did that, although it made this area in here richer, it made the sides kind of darker, right? So what you can do is this. Click OK. And now this looks pretty nice in here. It looks more like the colors that I saw down there, but I lost some of the sides. Let me zoom back a little. This is all kind of dark. All right. So what you could do is grab the history brush. Think of the history brush as undo on a brush. So if I paint in these areas, it brings back the original color that was kind of darkened by my levels adjustment. So it kind of brings back some of that detail in there like that. There we go. There, now take a look at the image. See how it's kind of, the detail that we lost in here is back. And we can even bring this back a little if you want, right in there. So you bring a little more of that detail. So that's back, but we've enhanced the color in here without going crazy, without making things go nuts. And then what I would probably do is, well, most certainly do, is sharpen it. Yeah, I sharpen these images by going to lab mode one more time. By then going to the channels palette, clicking on the lightness channel. By only sharpening the lightness channel, I avoid the color problems that would happen by sharpening the color channels. The color channels are the A and the B. So if I stay away from those and just sharpen the luminosity of the image, I'm going to get better sharpening. I can apply more sharpening without problems. So now let's go and throw some sharpening on here. We'll add unsharp mask once, and then we'll actually add it again because I can cheat and get away with more sharpening. And then we'll just switch back to RGB mode. And that's basically what I did. I did basically that technique that you just saw here. I either did the curves adjustment that you saw me do, or I did the levels adjustment that you just saw me do, or I did a third adjustment, which is the apply image technique. And that is in my channels book, which we'll be giving away a little bit later. But it was another little lab trick that is in the channels book. Okay, so guys, that's basically kind of an overview that answers a lot of people's questions, because what I was doing was writing this all down in an email to everybody. Here's what I did. Here's the camera I used, blah, 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 blah. So I want to thank everybody at Nikon, especially our buddy Bill Fortney, who was just
a renegade cop.
a robo-renegade cop.
The most gracious host you will ever find.
And just an incredible, really gifted photographer, a gifted instructor. He was just great. And we were just very honored that Nikon helped us to do that. So, hey, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. We're going to be back with Dave Cross and contests and more cool stuff, including a look at the new look Navigator and a whole lot more when we return on Photoshop TV. Alrighty, we are back and we have some big news, huge news. Okay, if you are an NAPP member, which is a member of the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, we have some big news for you today. We are now producing a special NAP member only version of Photoshop TV. It's an extra version, so when a regular version comes out, there'll be a special version just for NAP members, just on the member website. So if you're a member now, you get special bonus content that everybody else doesn't get. It's like just for you. And it's different than the regular show because it's a little shorter. It doesn't have the news. It doesn't have the contest, the sponsors, and ads, or any of that stuff. It's just strictly tutorials and tips, bang, bang, bang.
Right.
And it doesn't have a bunch of jokes or anything.
No humor whatsoever.
No humor. In fact, it's kind of like this. Hi, I'm Scott.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
Let's begin. So it's like that, and we go straight into the tips. It goes just like that. In fact, we don't even mention that term. All we do is this every once in a while. So no jokes, just strictly tips and tutorials just for NAPP members. So if you are a NAP member, make sure you go watch our brand new episode. It debuts today. So go check it out at the NAPP member website. So for you, Mondays means 2 shows, and it's all different content from the NAP member show to this one. So just very big news, I think, for NAP members. And
cool.
So thank you guys for all your support. We're doing that especially just for you. Okay. Now, for everybody else, we've got Matt. Matt. He's actually going to be showing you, we've been talking, one of our sponsors is Logitech. They have this really, really cool device. We've been giving it away for weeks on the show. And now we actually get to see how it works today with Matt. Oh, the new look.
All right, so we've talked about it, as Scott said, the Logitech New Look Navigator. Now, essentially what this is it's kind of a heavy little device. It's actually a security device. If anybody ever comes up to you and tries to steal it, if you just throw it at them, they will go down.
Yes, believe me.
So, but anyway, no, like Scott, this is probably the coolest device that has come out for Photoshop since, I'd say, the pen and tablet. And what it does, and you're going to see here in a second, is it just gives you a control when you're working with your images that you don't get just by using the mouse and the keyboard here.
And we're going to bring back one of our very favorite parts of Photoshop TV from the early days, the Dave Cam.
The Dave Cam.
The Dave Cam follows around and just does amazing things. And it's run by Dave, and that's why we call it, of course, the Dave.
Yeah,
The
because if
Dave
it was
Cam.
called the Steve Cam, it wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah, it really wouldn't. Okay, so
is Dave Cam all set up?
Yeah, I'm all set.
So you
Dave
plug this
Cam
thing
is-
into your USB
So you
port.
plug this thing into your USB port. There is a software device part of it, but really here we're just going to concentrate on the hardware.
And the software thing is really cool.
The software is very cool, and it's got a lot of different features to it, but we could spend a whole episode on that. What I want to show you here is what the hardware basically does for you. So if you take a look at the actual object, the Navigator itself, you twist it to the right or you twist it to the left. And what that does is that zooms in and out of your image. Now, if you try to move it to the top, let's zoom in here, I'll twist it to the right. Now, if you try to move it upward, downward, move it to the left, move it to the right, you can see it kind of pans around your image here. All this is independent of your mouse hand, though, because this is not a substitute for your mouse. It goes in your other hand. So what I do, and I find it works really great for retouching, is I'll zoom into an area that I want to retouch. Let's say we want to kind of darken these eyebrows a little bit. I'll go over here and I will grab the burn tool, okay? And I'll find the brush size that I like, and I'm just going to start working on the eyebrows a little bit here. And as I do that, you can see that I can just move around the image with my left hand just by using that mouse. And if I need to zoom in, I can go ahead and do that. So what it does is it gives you that control instead of always having to revert back over to the keyboard. As you get down here, maybe we want to add a little bit more, just lighten up the eyes a little bit. Again, we can just drop our brush size down, zoom into the eyes a little bit here, and that was a burn. So what we want to do here is really maybe go in here, just dodge a little bit, nothing too crazy, but just gives you that control. You can see here it makes it a lot easier to move around, except when you zoom in too far. All right, so now,
Matt, you were changing the brush sizes using the bracket keys on your keyboard.
I was.
On the blog this week, I noticed we had 2 people from Sweden saying, well, there are no bracket keys on the Swedish keyboard. And the reason why is because we don't know.
we don't know.
We don't know how
I was
to
thinking
change.
of that myself.
We do not know how to change brush sizes on the Swedish keyboard. So if you're one of our Swedish viewers and you know how, send us an email, post it on the blog to let our other Swedish viewers know how they change their.
Yes, do that, please. Okay, so there's one more thing I didn't show, and you kind of reminded me when I was using the bracket keys to change my brush size. Bad Matt, is the use of the navigator. You don't need to use your bracket keys to do that. If you look at the top of the navigator here, there's this thing called the tool tuner.
Wait for the Dave cam to zoom
I'm
in.
there.
It's
I'm
the
there.
Dave cam. The Dave cam is here. Okay,
Zoom on it.
this is our first over-the-shoulder Dave cam here for me. So, what it is it controls how the size of your brush is here. So if you could see, let's take a look at it again. I'll hide it here if I can. There we go. So it's just by moving my finger around the tool tuner, I can increase or decrease the size of my brush just by putting your finger inside that groove. So now not only are you using this thing and you're zooming, you're panning around your image, but with the same hand, instead of going with the bracket keys, all you're doing is changing your brush size right here on the fly. So that's just a quick look at the New Look Navigator. Again, a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. You can always go to www.logitech.com/New Look, and they've got tutorials. They've got a whole lot of information on there. These guys are crazy. A whole lot of information on there on what you can do with it. So go check it out.
All right, thank you, Matt. Okay.
He smoothly transitioned
Yeah,
from
hey,
Weird Face
whoa.
Scott to...
Sorry. Hey, we're back. Hey, it's time to go to the news. Hey, before we do, when we come back from the news, we have some other very, very big news. So stick around for that. But we're going to take things over to the Storm Team News Center. Matt is in the golf cart right now going to the Storm Team News Center, where you'll find him using Doppler radar with the news. Matt Kloskowski coming up with the news now.
It's Photoshop news from the Action News Storm Team with Matt Kloskowski. He's rocking the house key.
This week's news is brought to you by Peach Pit Press. You can go to www.peachpit.com/Photoshop TV, and they got a special book deal, 30% off, free shipping, all kinds of cool stuff for you. All right, so first up this week, we've got the Microsoft Future Pro Photographer Contest. If you are a future pro photographer, you want to check this out because there's $20,000 in the grand prize package, all kinds of other crazy prizes. Go check it out, Microsoft.com. Also, Adobe has released a new update to Camera Raw. So get a lot of emails from people that ask about the new Canon 30D and when that's going to be supported by Camera Raw. Well, Camera Raw 3.4 is the new update, and the 30D is now supported inside of it. Finally, you got to go check this out. If you don't want to plunk down $1,600 on a lens, or you're not sure you're ready to put that kind of money down, the guys over at rentglass.com have got a great little website set up. You can actually get on there and rent lenses, glass lenses anyway. But you can rent lenses there. You can try it out. They got very, very good rates on there, a lot of different lenses to choose from. So you can try it out, figure out if you need it, or maybe you just need a lens for a quick trip. So go check it out at rentglass.com. Finally, one more thing here. If you want to see Dave Cross or Ben Wilmore or Burt Monroy in action, go check them out. They're going to be in Milwaukee. Dave Cross will be in Milwaukee. Ben Wilmore will be in Minneapolis, and Burt will be in Columbus and Salt Lake City. So you can always go to photoshopseminars.com and find out when they're coming to a city near you. That's it for the news. Back to you guys.
We're back. and we're going to go to Mr. Cross here for last week's contest winner and this week's contest info.
Right. Well, actually, as you know by now, I don't have the contest winner. I just have the answer to last week's question, which was, where do you find a command called defringe? Which is not a short way of saying the fringe.
Under the fringe menu, right?
It's under the layer menu under matting was the correct answer. And we will now show you. The lucky winner is... there they are.
That lucky person.
Aren't they lucky?
They are.
Now, we also have a contest this week, and what do they win this week?
Well, we've got a fabulous set of prizes. First, we start off with a DVD. It's called Photoshop CS2 for Beginners by Mr. Dave Cross. So you get that as well. You get the Photoshop Channels book by me, and I'll sign it for you. And a one-year subscription
Slightly used magazine that Matt has been reading.
to Layers Magazine, the how-to magazine for everything Adobe. If you haven't got a chance to check out Layers, go to layersmagazine.com. You get all of this just
the
for
low, low
answering
price?
this crazy question.
Crazy
He's
question.
got a good question
I have
this week.
I think this is a good question. Needs a little bit of work. And the question is, in what dialogue do you work with image zones? So, Matt will tell you how to enter this wonderful contest that we have.
Yes, to enter this wonderful contest we have, go to photoshoptv.com. On the right-hand side, there will be a link that says enter contest something or other on there. Click on that link, enter your contest information, send it in to us, and you will be entered. Now, make sure you send it in by Friday, May 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time.
How many times can you enter?
You can enter one time. Multiple chances, take your name out of the pool to be a winner. So
Great. Now, I said we had big news before the last break, and we do. The big news is I have started a brand new online training course. If you're a digital photographer, I'm inviting you to join me for a 21-day online course called Photoshop for Digital Photographers. And it's just 5 minutes a day, and there's 3 components to it. Number 1 is you're going to download kind of a bonus outline so you can see what we're doing. And on the outline, not only do I outline what we're doing that day, and you can print it out, of course, it's a PDF, but I give you some all the keyboard shortcuts used and a little extra tip that isn't in the daily training. Number 2 is I give you the same photos that I use in the course so you can follow along. Of course, the idea is that you would use your own photos, but if you want to use mine, you can download them. And the third piece of this, of course, is you watch every day's tutorial. For 21 days, you can start it at any time you want. Now, the course we have a special deal for NAT members. It's only $39.99. If you're an NAPP member, that's a special Photoshop TV introductory offer. And that's for all 21 days. If you are not an NAPP member, it's $69.95, but that still only equates to about $3 a day for a 21-day course. So $3 a day is like a cup of coffee. If you're a NAT member, it's like half a cup of coffee. But either way, I invite you to join me for this 21-day course. It's starting right now. So go to photoshoptraining.com. In fact, all the things that we do you can find at Photoshop Training. If you're looking for Photoshop books or videos or conferences or seminars or anything in Photoshop TV, go to photoshoptraining.com. All right.
can I jump in there?
Please
Just
do.
to save myself some emails, because I know we're going to get the emails on it. In order to take the course, all you need to have is a web browser, right?
Yeah, web browser, absolutely.
Flash-enabled web browser, and you're set.
And a
That's
high-speed
it.
connection.
And a high-speed connection.
I wouldn't do it with a dial-up. If you're like in a dial-up in
it's
New Zealand or
definitely-
someplace in the like in the outback, and all you can get is dial-up, drive into Brisbane and do it from there.
So just to save some emails for me, but that's what you need.
There you go, absolutely. So I hope you'll join me for that course. Now, we like to finish each show with giving you some projects to do between this week's show and next week's show. Matt, what did you bring us for your project this week?
I brought us go to the folks over at Photoshop Support, Jennifer Apple and our friends over there.
Hi, Jen.
And hi, Jen. They've got a great little website for you. There's a blog on there. There's news. There's tutorials.
Oh, it's one of the best. I read it every
she
single
does
day.
a
One of the
great
best
job of
blogs out
collecting
there.
everything and getting it right there in front of you.
Absolutely. Mr. Cross.
Well, I have a website that one of those things where you don't really know how to pronounce it because you always just type it in, but it's Dexiner, I guess you would say. It's like the word designer, but an X instead of an S, Dexiner.com. And it's a great little website for designers full of ideas, articles, news, and also a link to just about every competition for designers you can possibly imagine.
All right, now, mine is not a great little website. It's a huge, big website. I'm going to send you to Microsoft.com/ProPhoto. There is a photographer summit. It's actually called the Microsoft Pro Photo Summit coming up June 28th and 29th in Redmond, Washington on the Microsoft campus. I'll be teaching there along with a host of photographers. Please come out and join us. It's really, really neat. You can apply online at Microsoft.com/ProPhoto, and it's called, I'm looking at it right here on my web browser, the Microsoft Pro Photo Summit. So should be a lot of fun, and I hope that some of you will get to see some of you there our viewers of Photoshop TV.
Yes.
Well, guys, that's it for this week's episode of Photoshop TV. On behalf of myself and the entire country of Canada, it's Representative Mr. Dave Krause.
Thanks for watching.
And Matt Kloskowski, he's right here every week on Adobe Photoshop TV. See you guys next week.
Thanks for watching Adobe Photoshop TV. See you next week.